Hello everyone, welcome to another lesson from Vital Guitar Free Guitar Lessons. In this video I will introduce palm muting and how to palm mute regardless of the kind of bridge you use. I'm going to assume you understand all the basics like using a pick and playing power chords. I'll include some resources in the descriptions just in case you'd like to review anything. Palm muting is the technique of covering one or more strings with your right palm if you're right-handed. Palm muting produces a much thicker and percussive sound than playing open strings and is often used with electric guitars with distortion. For examples of palm muting, look up Sum 41's Still Waiting. The intro is entirely palm muted and works as a nice build-up to the rest of the song. You'll find that many songs use palm muting as an intense build-up to choruses or interludes, but there are plenty of different uses for palm muting. You can hear these other uses in two Metallica songs, Master of Puppets and Seek and Destroy. They use palm muting in what I think are some really cool ways. Now let's learn how to palm mute. When you palm mute, you have to pivot your picking hand at the wrist, since picking at the elbow is impossible because you must keep your right palm on the bridge of the guitar. You should hold your pick the way you would when you're not palm muting. That should be between 0 and 45 degrees downwards like this. I typically pick between 10 and 30 degrees. There are different ways to hold a pick as well, like some people would rather hold it 45 degrees upwards like this, but I personally like to stick with the conventional method and hold it this way. Since your movement is limited while palm muting, because your palm needs to stay on the bridge, it's okay to keep your pick wherever it's comfortable. The limited range of side-to-side movement means the guitar will sound pretty much the same wherever you pick. It's also perfectly fine to move your palm up and down to make playing different notes easier. For example, if I play a palm muted scale across the entire width of the fretboard, I'll have to move my right hand. I'll play the F major scale as an example, and you're not expected to know how to play this at the moment. As you can see, I had to adjust my right palm as I muted different strings up and down. You'll also find that you'll have to move your palm when playing chords that are several strings apart, like the D major chord and the E power chord. It's simple enough that I'll leave that to you to experiment with. Now let's get down to actually palm muting. Place your right palm on the bridge of the guitar, which is this part of the guitar. In layman's terms, it's the part of the guitar that holds the strings up here, and it's located right next to the pickups. Again, place your right palm on the bridge. Now play the low E power chord. It should sound like this if your palm is right on the sweet spot. Make sure your palm isn't too far forward or too far back. If your palm is too far forward, the mute will sound like this. It's completely muted and you can't hear anything. And if it's too far back, the mute will sound like this. It's completely unmuted and sounds like you're not palm muting at all. Again, it should sound something like this. Not only can you hear the chord, but it's not ringing completely. It's muted. It has a nice thick sound to it. To figure out how to get your palm on the right spot, place your palm far forward and pick the strings you want to palm mute. In this case, we want to palm mute the E power chord. Slowly move your hand back towards the bridge and keep picking. At some point, you will hear a good thick palm muted sound. This is where you should stop. Let's try this again, but with the A power chord. Again, place your palm ahead of the bridge, pick the strings you want to palm mute, in this case the A power chord, and slowly move your hand back towards the bridge and keep picking. And stop when you get that nice thick sound. I'm starting really far ahead to make sure this process is clear to you, but what you should do is place your palm as close to the bridge as you can, but slightly in front of it. So something like this, and repeat that exercise, and just move slightly back, just like that. That's a much more efficient way of figuring out where to place your palm. Now, with practice, your palm will automatically find the right region for muting. You may have noticed that placing the palm just slightly behind or ahead of the bridge produces slightly different muting sounds, like this, and with practice, you'll be able to distinguish between the different muting sounds and use them to your advantage when you write your own songs. Also keep in mind that the region where you place your palm is different for different kinds of guitars and bridges. And actually, let me just recap what I just talked about before I go on. Again, to get a good palm muting sound, let's say with the E power chord again, you start slightly ahead of the bridge, pick it, move your palm back until you find a good place for your palm. You can also do the same process from behind the bridge and move forward, but either way, it's really the same thing. You just try to find a good place to place your palm by sliding it side to side. So now, if you start playing a different guitar than the one you were used to and your palm muting doesn't sound right, play around with the position of your palm as I described before. Either place it like slightly ahead, pick and move backwards on the bridge, or place your hand behind the bridge, keep picking as you move forward until you get a muting sound. All right? And I highly recommend you look up some of the examples I mentioned earlier, just so you know what palm muting sounds like in rock music and with distortion and all that fun stuff. Now let's try an exercise. We will use the chord progression from Sum 41's The Hell Song. The first half will be entirely palm muted, and I will leave the picking pattern in the second half as an exercise for you to figure out. The chords for the exercises are in the description, but I will go through them here. The chords are 4th fret, low E string, the power chord there, then the low E power chord, which is just the open low E string with a power chord there, then 2nd fret A string power chord, and then 2nd fret E string power chord. This will make more sense if you look at the palm muting link in the description. So again, it's the root notes are the 4th fret E string power chord, 0 fret E string power chord, 2nd fret A string power chord, and 2nd fret E string power chord. It should sound like this. There's the first chord, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Okay? One more time. Write it down if you have to. Get familiar with this chord progression. Hopefully it's going to be simple enough, provided that you are familiar with power chords. And I'm going to play this twice, this entire exercise twice. I'm going to play four of these chord progressions. The first two run-throughs of the chord progression, I'm going to mute the whole thing completely. I'll do that another time, and then the next two chord progressions I'm going to play the same chords but with a slightly different pattern, and that's going to be up to you to figure out how to do that part. I'd like you to watch how I play the whole thing through once, and again this means I'll play the chord progression 4 times. And when I'm done with that, you can join me when I go through the entire thing a second time, but you are welcome to play along with me both times. Let me get my metronome on at 100 BPM. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you have it. So that was the first run through, and I'm going to play that entire thing again, and I'd like you to play along with me if you haven't already started. So here it is again. I'll count off 4 and then go. 1, 2, 3, 4. is your exercise. If you want a hint on how to play that second part of the exercise, look at the palm muting lesson on the website. The palm muting pattern is very close to what I played, but it's what I play is slightly different. And again, that's an exercise for you to figure out. If you have any questions, please comment, please rate, please subscribe. I am making I'm trying to put aside a lot of time into making more lessons, and suggestions for lessons are very welcome. Questions are always welcome. Please follow me on Twitter. There's a Facebook page, and spread the word. Thank you.